And so what happens is he kind of turns his head. See how his head's turning before his feet are turning? Mm-hmm. And so we always say, bring your feet and eyes together. He's bringing his eyes first.
What's up, everybody? My name is Alex Rollins. This is the Alex Rollins NFL YouTube channel. Today, we have a very special guest, a man who went from bagging groceries to body bagging defenses in the NFL, Super Bowl champion, Hall of Fame quarterback, Kurt Warner. Kurt, how's it going today?
Going good, Alex. How are you, man?
Pretty good. Excited to have you on.
I'm excited to be on. Anytime we get a chance to break down tape, I never get a chance to do it as much as I would like. So anybody else that has a passion for it, I'm all in.
100%. So unfortunately, we're not breaking down Kurt Warner film today, but we're going to be looking at North Dakota State's Trey Lance, who is a very interesting prospect. You know, he's projected in the top 10. This last year, he didn't play due to COVID. He just played the one game. But then in 2019, he really broke onto the scene. 67% completion percentage, 28 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And he's a monster running the ball, and he's projected in the top 10. So I want to look at the positives and kind of get your breakdown on him. You know, what do you see in his game that you think he can do well in the NFL?
Well, you talk about it first, Alex. The idea that he's got all the tools. So that's the first thing that you see is there's no limitations on this guy in terms of what he can do physically, whether it's running, the big arm, throwing the football, making all the throws, all of those different things. You fall in love with. I want to see a guy process information. That's the first thing. I want to see that he knows what he's looking at. He's able to get through his reads. He's able to make the right throws and decisions consistently. Can he throw it on time? Can he throw it with touch? Can he throw it up and down, over alignment? Those are things that I want to see. What truly separates great quarterbacks to me are the guys that can make that chunk throw 15 to 35 yards consistently. They can be accurate with those kinds of throws. They can find ways to make those throws in tight windows. And maybe most importantly, they can make those throws when the world around them isn't perfect. Again, with Trey Lance, the athleticism's there, but I see him at times process things really well. I see his ability to make those second level throws really, really well. He's got the big arm, but just the ability when guys are in your face and, reading through things to make those throws. So I really like those two things about him. But to me, the biggest caveat and why I've probably got a number 5 on my top 5 list is just because of the inconsistencies, is that you can see all those plays being made, but then there's a number of times where he misses plays that I think he should make. He misses throws that he should be making, because they're not too hard, or he's not off platform, or he's shown me that he's done it at different times, but there's a real inconsistency in his accuracy. And that to me is the one thing that alarms me, because yes, you can teach technique, but very few guys go from being, a certain type of passer in the college ranks to becoming much better from an accuracy standpoint in the NFL. So that's kind of where I stack up Trey Lance. Some really good things, some things that really excite you, some things that say, man, if it's all said and done and he gets better from a consistency standpoint, maybe he's the best quarterback we have in this draft. But where I'm looking at him right now, I say to myself, too many inconsistencies for me to bank on the fact that I can improve those things. So I have him kind of sitting number 5 on my board of what we all know is kind of the top 5 guys.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything you said. I have him top 5 or 5th as well on my board. And I think, when we look at the positives, of course, as you said, we see the athleticism, we see the arm talent. And I think what's really impressive, we don't always see it, but when he is in the pocket and putting those talents together, that's where you really see some of the nuance on the plays when he does put it all together. It's really, really incredible stuff. So let's take a look at some of the film and look at why he is a potential top 10 pick and get into that. Let's look at an example which kind of brings all of those talents together into one. So I'll first introduce the coverage and the concept, and then we'll get down and dirty into the weeds. So it's 3rd and 7 on this play, and Lance gets kind of a weird quarters look. It's actually man-free, so we have a safety blitzing right here, and then a double team on the slot receiver up top. And then the Bisons have a slot fade with a hitch, also at the top. And then what I've seen called bullets or bounce, and that's tagged with a running back wheel at the bottom. Just walk me through how you'd read this through Trey's eyes, his progression pre-snap, post-snap, why this play is so impressive, because it really is incredible.
Yeah, and when you watch Trey and you watch the offense there at North Dakota State, they'll have kind of an alert to one side of the field. So it's At the top, it's the inside fade with the hitch, to some degree. That's one of those that you come back and you go, okay, if I have an alert look, if I have a look that says corner's way off, come out, bang the hitch right now. The thing that makes this play difficult here for Trey, if you watch him, Alex, is that he's going to peek at his alert first. When you do that, it becomes really, really tough because I really need to see what my bullets and my back is doing on the backside. So when you've got bullets in here, we're kind of thinking back to pivot to in. So we're reading this kind of low to high because of how this might play out. So you'll notice Trey in this particular look, he's peeking left first. The problem is, as he works back to the other side, you almost have to work this backwards as a true progression if you're doing this, because it's hard for him to peek there and then get all the way back and try to figure out the relationship of the linebacker against the running back and then get to the pivot, because you'll notice he's almost late to the pivot. The pivot's coming out of it before he even gets back there in a position to read it. And so as he's working to get back there, he doesn't have quite the timing that he wants.
I have an interesting take on this play, and I want to hear what you think about it. So, Trey's quarterback coach, Quincy Avery, went on a podcast recently and talked about how Trey set the protection a lot of the time, which is pretty rare for a college quarterback, of course. So, we can kind of see Trey's listening into some of the communication there. So I think he's looking at this safety and he's seeing him cap number 7, and he's thinking 7's actually blitzing, and 6, who does come down when he gives that hard count, he thinks 6 is coming down for the tight end. So usually when you get that kind of rotation, when we go back to the wide, he's seeing this guy would typically go to the middle of the field. And I think that's maybe why he's checking that alert you're talking about, because then of course we get a one-on-one with this bigger guy in space, which would also make sense why he never even sees this guy coming, because he thinks he's maybe getting something there and this guy's coming down. So I want to know, do you think that's what he was looking at pre-snap? Maybe he was trying to switch into a 3 scat protection to the right there, like sliding to the right to account for 7 or 6. And what kind of constraint does a safety pressure put on a quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, there's definite possibility with you seeing the line sliding, that direction. Worst case scenario, I would probably, push this protection to number 2. So if 7 or 6 comes, I know I've got them outnumbered to the front side. Either one of those guys comes, I know I have a hot to the front side that's really built in. So I would never want to push it past that into an empty set where number 2 could possibly create a hot for me on the inside and give me an issue. But I would more think to myself, hey, like you said, 7 and 6 are coming down, or worst case scenario, 7 blitzes off the edge, 6 comes and takes the tight end, and 2 is chasing to the back there. So I like my relationship there with the backers against the back. But again, Trey does a nice job. I'm not sure, again, you can look at this a bunch of different ways, but bottom line is he peeks at his alert, doesn't like it, gets back to the front side, and does a nice job progressing through and making that nice throw with pressure in his face.
Definitely. And, I think we touched on, his ability in the pocket when he is putting it all together. That's an incredible example right there. We did talk a little bit about some of the issues he has anticipating, that can pop up, but there are definitely some examples where he can execute that anticipation at a high level and really go in attack mode when he does see those kind of voids in coverage. So here they're running a branch concept, which that's what I call this go route with like an 8-yard out. And the Bisons ran that a ton. And we'll see the bounce concept that we saw before, and then this branch concept pop up later in the video as well. The defense gives kind of a tricky look. It kind of looks like quarters pre-snap, but then it turns into cover 3 cloud. And cloud just means that this corner is in the flat, and then both safeties are actually taking deep thirds. So I'm curious, right at the snap, what's kind of your checklist? Are you going right to the safeties at the snap, or are you looking linebackers to safeties, and which safety are you looking at? What is Trey looking at here?
Well, I mean, the first thing is you notice that both inside linebackers are up in the A gaps. So, the first thing you're thinking when you see something like that is, okay, we could be getting a pressure look. You always got to start with your hots if there's a threat. So first thing that I would always look at is whoever my hot guy is, whoever that extra guy is. And again, maybe it's none of those guys, because we see the back to the right-hand side, he's kind of scanning back. So it looks to me, when you look at this look, like the offensive line is going to take the guy in the A gap to the right. The back's going to step and get the guy in the A gap to the left. So I really don't have any hot situations inside the box. But yeah, I always want to look at my hots first if they're in a threatening position from a hot standpoint. And then from there, it goes right to the safeties. The beautiful thing about this here is that it's a true progression-based read for Trey. You know, it's outside. You're not really thinking this go route very often unless you get a perfect look. You're thinking the out that he throws to here, and then you're going to work yourself back to the shallow, to the end, and then the sneak by the back. So it's a true progression. So it's really just peek your hot. As long as you know you're good from a hot standpoint, you're going to be right over here, one-on-one, see what this outside linebacker does. He pushes and goes underneath that out. You're going to come right back to the backer that's on the inside and read him to the shallow, and then work your progression back to the other backer with the end to the sneak by the back. You know, I'm really kind of surprised that Trey makes this throw. It's a really good throw. This outside backer actually runs past your out right there. We have to be able to read not only the space or the position they're in, but also their body language. And Trey does a great job here of reading that body language. As he looks over at this outside backer, even though he gets width there and is in great position, you watch as he turns his hips right here back to Trey. He flattens his hips back to where Trey is, and now Trey can say to himself, or a quarterback can say, now he's got no chance to turn his hips and cover back to the outside. It's a really good throw from the backside hash up and over that linebacker, and to understand that he can make this throw, you know, even where that linebacker initially moves, is really, really well done.
So now we've looked at a few good examples, and we did touch on some of the things where he struggles a little bit and some of the issues that he has. Let's take a look at some of those problems. And obviously Trey has the ceiling with the physical tools, but he is pretty raw when he's in the pocket, and there is that inconsistency with accuracy, especially around 15 to 20 yards downfield, which is what you were talking about, where we really do want to see that pop up on tape consistently. And that's one of the things that we look for. And, you know, also we don't see him pressured here, but it's just something I wanted to add, that his completion percentage drops all the way down to 50% when it was at 67. So that's something we'll see in a second as well. But yeah, this is a great example of, you know, some of those issues we're seeing, and actually kind of a blend of the two concepts that we've already looked at. We have this bounce concept here with pretty much the same exact thing, the pivot and then the dig and the bullet out there from the running back. And then up top, the branch concept with the go and the out route. And Nicholls State is playing a quarters cover 4 zone with 4 deep defenders, and then they have 3 underneath, and they're even dropping another guy out here, so we only have a 3-man rush. So explain to me how you'd go through this progression, and with this look pre-snap to post-snap, kind of all the information you're taking in as you see this, and, you know, where you see some of the problems arise.
Yeah, so I mean, this backside portion with the pivot in the end and the bullets, obviously we saw that earlier on a play. And the alert on the other play was the inside fade with the hitch. So now basically what they've done is, I think you call it the branch concept. They just said, okay, now we're gonna put the branch concept over there. That becomes your alert, Trey. And then we'll have this concept down on the bottom. So once again, because of the quarters, Trey tells himself, hey, I expect the corner to bail, so I got one-on-one with my receiver against a linebacker. Let me peek my alert. I don't like it, so he makes a good decision off of what the linebacker does. Great. Now work back through your progression, and he gets back to that end, which I like. But as you said, you can see he kind of overstrides here. And that's kind of the biggest thing as guys process and get through processing is, do you process and are you in a position to, you know, to turn and throw at the same time? And so what happens is he kind of turns his head. See how his head's turning before his feet are turning? Mm-hmm. And so we always say, bring your feet and eyes together. He's bringing his eyes first. And so his eyes are telling him to make this throw, but his feet aren't ready to make this throw. So now he's going to rush the throw, you know, dropping, watch how he has to drop and then get the ball out quick, knowing that 25 here, I think it's 25, is sitting in that hole, and I got to beat him with the throw. So I'd really like to see him, once he comes off of that alert, he doesn't like it, to pop his feet and eyes together and be ready to throw, understanding where that end needs to be thrown. But here he gets caught a little bit lazy, coming back first with his eyes, not ready to throw it. Now he's got to try to grip it and rip it. And this is what's going to happen oftentimes with guys, is as they progress through things, if they're not truly ready to throw, or they're bouncing, or they're trying to play catch up, now he's going to just yank this throw, and you're going to see what happens. Does it finish? ball goes high on a throw that's an easy throw that we all know that he can make, but it really starts with technique. And you'll see that oftentimes with him, that technique will get away from him at times, especially as he's processing things. And if that technique gets away from you, you're missing throws that you should make. And that becomes, the biggest red flag that I saw from Trey Lance. The technique has to come with you and work with you, and it'll get away from him, and then the inconsistencies and accuracy, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I think it's worrisome because these kind of mistakes and accuracy issues, they do kind of happen a lot. Those kind of little deficiencies in technique can pop up and really be detrimental. So Kurt, I'm really excited to break this play down with you because I know that 525 F post was one of your favorite plays to run back in the day. I just really want to know, we have it up on the screen as well, back from our 2001 Mike Martz playbook. So I want to know, not so much looking at what happens here in terms of Trey, but why you like this concept so much and why you think it's so effective.
I love this concept. And the reason I love it is because it's a play that can beat any coverage. So I'll just kind of take you through the read, the way that we read it was we would read the inside linebacker or the first linebacker inside the Y on this page. And so, possibly that guy. Could even be the safety if the safety's down, just because they've got a 3-man. But yes, one of those guys, depending on what the coverage is and how they play this. But the inside backer position there, we would read. So if he pulled with the shallow, obviously we're reading, our post there. But if anything got cloudy with the post, we would come all the way back to the X first. A lot of people will read this kind of back, more progression-based, post to shallow, then try to get to the comeback. But I always felt like there's timing on the comeback. And so I want to throw and get to everything that's timing-based first. So it's post, boom, back to the comeback. And then the shallow and the swing is not really timing-based throws. So I would recover back to the inside. But some people would struggle to be able to go post, pop and read all the way backside and make that comeback throw, and then recover inside off of what the defense does.
I want to get your take on what happened with Lance on this play. It's too deep, cover 2 man here, and it's kind of a match coverage because we see, usually this safety here is dropping out into his deep half, but he's cutting crossers, which is certainly interesting. And we'll see, the corner, they're playing straight man over here, but the corner is actually going to replace that safety and take over his deep half kind of. So I think it's a really nice coverage from the Penguins, and it's really well executed because, these match coverages can get kind of messed up. So what is Trey reading here? Because it looks like the way he's reading it out isn't necessarily the way it's typically done. And what do you think he's seeing?
Yeah, well, there's a couple different pieces to this. Like you said, I'm going to read that inside portion of the field. And so see what happens there. Once I realize it's man, I feel like I'm in good shape, especially since my post is coming from all the way on the inside. And so with my post coming on the inside of the bunch, I do feel like the guy that's covering him is going to push outside of that. And I'm going to have a great opportunity on my post back to the inside, strictly because of alignment and them playing man-to-man coverage. So in this particular look, I would expect Trey to put it on the post for that. They run it more like an angle, just 2 or 3 yards. But right now, there's nothing telling me, once I see that clear out there, not to take that guy right now if they're truly reading this like post. So it would be post, and then if for some reason you don't like it, we'll work to the backside from there. But as you notice, it looks like Trey peeks backside first for some reason. And so I'm not sure what the true concept is. See, his eyes go left here right off the bat, and I'm not sure what he's doing there, what he's trying to verify there. So he's not even ready to hit this angle right away. And so because of that, maybe there's something different about this play where he's reading left to shallow and then working all the way back to that angle underneath it. It just seems like his read is off. He doesn't really know at this point, and now I'm just trying to make a play. Not really sure, again, what Trey is processing on this.
Definitely. Well, it's great to hear your process on analyzing these quarterbacks. And, I think as fans, we do really want to see the why. And the more we can get that, which is actually surprisingly hard to get, it's not too easy to just go on Google and look at X's and O's and whatnot, which is why I'm also really appreciative of your YouTube channel that you just started, QB Confidential. It's fantastic to get that insight from you And then that also pairs with the QB Confidential platform that you've started. So I want to hear more about that, and tell me, what kind of player or what kind of person or coach is QB Confidential really designed for? What are you trying to teach on that platform?
Well, QB Confidential, I believe, is for any offensive coach and any quarterback that wants to see the game from a quarterback's perspective. I'm using my expertise as a quarterback to teach the game, and to teach it for offensive coaches, to teach it for young budding quarterbacks, and then anybody else along the way that wants to learn that perspective and how that can help them to coach or to play. And I believe there's specific things that can help you as a quarterback foundationally that you need to build. And I believe most of the guys that I work with never had that. They don't know that. They're just out there throwing because they can throw. And they're around coaches that may not understand how to teach technique, because not everybody can teach it. And so for the first year, I've kind of laid it out like a curriculum type format. So Mondays is blackboard breakdowns, Tuesdays is ABCs, Wednesdays is playbook, Thursdays is outside the box, and Fridays is study ball. So for the entire first year, for 52 weeks, every Monday, you're going to get a blackboard breakdown, and you're going to continue to stack and kind of build a curriculum. So I believe at the end of the first year, you've got a great basis for the game of football. I believe it's an invaluable tool. If you just love the game and want to understand the game more, you're going to love this platform as well. That's why I'm so excited about it, because it's given me an opportunity to be able to connect with the masses in a way that I never got the opportunity to before. It's just, there's so many great things. I love this game, and I love what it gave me. I love what it taught me. I love, that it gives people opportunities that they would never have otherwise. Now, here's my opportunity to continue to invest back in people that want to do the same things in the game that I was fortunate to be able to do. And so check it out. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. But if you're in any one of those areas and you just want to learn more about the game, I believe you're going to get more than your money's worth on QB Confidential.
Well, you got me ready to run through the wall, man. I'm pumped up to get on the site, and the platform's incredible. And just the excitement you bring is really, I think it's special. It's not something you're just putting out there and saying, all right, this is what I'm doing, but this is really your passion. It's carried through your career and onto this. So I implore everybody who, like you said, is a fan, is a coach, player, anybody who just wants to learn more about the game. It sounds like it hits on so many different levels, and I think that's really special. So I'll definitely put that in the description box below for everybody to check out. And Kurt, that's going to do it for today. Check out Kurt Warner's YouTube channel. Of course, QB Confidential, his website. Check him out on Twitter at Kurt13Warner. And Kurt, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I love what you're doing. I love that you asked me to be on. I love people that are passionate about our game. And that to me is what it's all about. Is our game is where it is. I have what I have because of people that love this game of football. And so everything from being on with you to breaking down on the different social medias to QB Confidential is all in that same vein. I want to be able to help those that love this game to advance in this game in whatever way possible. So I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate that you're breaking things down, having guys like myself on here. And again, kind of challenging what you see with what I see and putting it all together. That stuff is fun for me. And that's the beauty of our game and why it's exploded. But I appreciate you. I appreciate all the fans out there that love our game. And I'm going to continue to try to do things to advance it the best I know how.
Definitely. All right, Kurt. Thanks, man.
Thanks a lot, Alex. Appreciate it.